I had been putting off this game for a very long time. It seemed uninteresting, pointless, and outdated in terms of graphics, though I was right about that. However, this game is very popular and special. So I decided to check out what makes Kenshi so captivating for players. Later, I would realize only one thing. All Kenshi players share one characteristic. They are all masochists. More precisely, we are all masochists because I felt the taste of this game, but not immediately, of course. First, you need to go through the initiation as a novice and suffer a bit. On your screens is the game and a player who has entered it for the first time. A game that shows no mercy to beginners and drives them to depression, where only the strongest survive. If you want to see the next part of the adventure, write in the comments. For now, I wish you an enjoyable viewing of the first part, which should be called Pain and Suffering. The first introduction to the menu and choosing the initial spawn point. The hardest part of any game is not getting stuck on character customization. From the offered races, I chose something resembling a Draenei from World of Warcraft. I planned not to play around with the appearance and rely on random, but nothing pleased me, so I decided to tweak the appearance sliders myself. I wanted to create some goblin with a height of 1 meter, but with huge hands. After fiddling with the face, horns, and hairstyle, I ended up with this scary, beautiful creature that makes you want to cry just by looking at it. I gave it a very original name and finally started the game. Right from the start, I was confused. There was a lot of incomprehensible stuff everywhere, no signs, just a bunch of tutorial text and instructions that I didn't want to read at all. There was so much text, I just couldn't process it. So I decided to run around the map a bit, and then the most unexpected thing happened. I entered someone's house to figure things out and lay down on some beds on the floor while continuing to read the tutorials. When I left the building, guards attacked me and just beat me up for no apparent reason. I had only played for a few minutes, and I was already knocked out and thrown into prison. And the main thing is, I didn't even understand what I had done wrong. While resting in the cell, I had time to read hundreds of tedious and annoying instructional texts. I read everything and sped up time to wake up faster and start doing something. But then I got distracted and didn't notice that my goblin started doing what I had ordered him to do while he was still unconscious. How was I to know he would immediately start picking the lock? I was caught trying to break out of the cell and knocked out again. I repeated the previous mistake by speeding up time and stepping away from my laptop. When I returned, it was already night, and my idiot goblin started picking the lock again. I stopped him and started thinking about what to do. At that moment, a bunch of guards ran in and brought in a few of my fellow unfortunate souls. A minute later, I unexpectedly freed myself from the cell and started reading a new article called Being a Slave. And at that moment, guards ran up to me again and beat me. Once again, I wondered why. I managed to pick the lock and free myself from the shackles. I made an attempt to escape, hoping the guards wouldn't catch me, and I would make it beyond the city walls. But who would have thought that these idiots drink rocket fuel and can catch even a plane? Right after I was returned to my almost home, my character somehow climbed out on his own, and I got beaten again. I hadn't even been in the cell for a minute when I was made a slave again. This time I decided not to touch anything or even move my character, but they still beat me up and threw me back. I couldn't hold back my anger and picked the lock right in front of the guards. I somehow accidentally picked up an item, and on top of everything, I was also labeled a thief. And again, I was dragged out of the cell, beaten again, and not even a couple of seconds had passed. In half an hour of gameplay, all I got was aggression and hatred for it. The only gameplay I managed to see was prison and beatings. I got fed up and decided to start all over again. Attempt number 2 created something similar to the previous monstrosity and gave it another original name. This time, the spawn point was in an abandoned city, but I immediately ran away due to a developing phobia of cities, afraid to touch anything extra to avoid getting beaten with sticks again. Encountered some natives running towards me, shouting about hunger. Initially thought they were going after a boar behind me, but both the boar and the natives wanted to eat me. Ran back to the city for help from the guards, but got lost and lost a lot of health. The chase mechanics were surprising. Are they okay in the head? Not used to the inconvenient controls which led to death, had to reload the last save and try again. On the next attempt, a person helped me, but due to clumsiness, I died. The third attempt succeeded. The natives chose not to enter the city and left me alone. Figured out how to enter buildings and went to a bar. Talked to various creatures. Almost all wanted money. Found a merchant with the weapon I needed, but lacked the funds. Bought a couple of medkits, and I couldn't figure out how to heal until I discovered the medic button. Adjusted the graphics due to annoyance with the current settings, but FPS still dropped occasionally despite having a good laptop. Played tag with a boar and discovered a new city that wasn't empty this time. In one establishment, found a friend of the same race whose horns were cut off for an offense and who was dishonored. So he wanted to join me as an outcast. In the next building, there were mercenaries and I had no money to deal with them. Realized that my stick was reducing damage and unequipped it to sell later. Wanted to skip time to morning quickly to check other shops and went to the bar to sleep. Discovered that this didn't skip time, it only healed and charged me 100 coins per person, wasting 200 coins. Stole several items for the first time, found a weapon seller but struggled to compare them as the damage wasn't listed. Prices were still surprising, stole a few more valuable items. On leaving the city, was stopped and asked to show what I had. Thought the stolen items would lead to a beating, but was surprisingly let go. Faced some attackers and had to drag them to the guards. Attempted to loot the bodies, but they were taken before it could be done. Spotted a fight between bandits and caravans. Looted a few bodies, borrowed some items, and went to sell them. The trader had no comment on the bandits' items sold. Selling stolen items was tricky and dangerous, but quick saves and loads enabled me to sell everything and make some coins. Tried robbing a few more houses, but was unexpectedly attacked by a guard, even though it seemed no one should have seen me. Unsuccessful theft attempt. I'm already fed up with this city, but decided to make the most money from selling useless items from dead former owners. After making several rounds, I earned over 7,000 coins. Unfortunately, I don't know any other ways to earn money. After leaving the city, encountered a small fortress with 2 buildings. In a bar, bought wooden backpacks for my idiots, allowing us to carry more items. Hired a new companion for 2,000 coins. Made some adjustments to the appearance, and now we're 3. At that moment, a tip popped up teaching how to feed people. Spent the last money on food, and once again became a bum. The next challenge was escaping from a pack of mangy wolves. Managed to escape the first time, but got killed by a gang. In the next 6 attempts, tried to flee from the pack without losing anyone along the way, but it was difficult. It's really frustrating that my people are so weak, their damage is negative, and enemies are always either numerous or strong enough to kill my idiots in a few hits. The new mercenary, by the way, runs very fast, which could be advantageous. Reached a new city and, while it was night, entered a building where there was an option to train, but it wasn't clear what the purpose was. Talked to people in the bar, didn't learn anything useful. Besides, I'm too lazy to read so much text. Over 3 hours have passed since starting Kenshi, and my emotions are entirely negative. I don't understand anything, see no point in anything, and everything is uncomfortable and unpleasant, from the graphics to the hundreds of confusing game mechanics. I don't understand how to earn money, work, or survive. I don't get why my attack and defense are always in negative values, or why weapons lack attack indicators, making it unclear which weapon is better. The only thing understood is that I can't manage alone. I need to look up at least some beginner tips online. Time to play more seriously. Decided to return to the starting city and try everything from the beginning, relatively speaking. Along the way, found the first ore, iron, but since it's worth less than copper, didn't waste time on it. Decided to attack some beetles, overestimating my ability to defeat them. Fortunately, a save was made not too far back. Made it to the city on the cliff, where I planned to stay for a while, to gather coins and food. There were plenty of copper and iron deposits around the city, so the next half hour was spent mining and selling ore. Also, remembered to buy food for my workers, or rather my slaves. Purchased building materials for future construction projects, read the description of the wooden backpack and found out it can stack items up to 9 per pile. Bought the same backpack for Spade. Spent the last of the money on maps, saw guards killing boars and decided to skin them, but the warriors weren't in the mood and beat up Spade. Healed her and collected all the items from the boar corpses. took Spade to bed, stocked up on food. Couldn't sell all the items because the innkeeper ran out of money, while one of us rested, sent two to continue mining copper. Eventually, everyone regrouped. After selling all the ore, earned almost 15,000 coins. Left the city and stumbled upon a new village, found nothing interesting, and moved on. In the wasteland, found more copper and decided to mine a bit to load my followers and improve a parameter affecting maximum carry, weight, and running speed. Spade suffered again. She was stunned. Healed her once more, and while she recovered, continued mining ore, then worked together with everyone. Bandits accosted me, threatening and demanding money, took a risk, and decided to lower the price they were asking. On the way home, a fool accosted me, but knowing I couldn't kill him, simply ran to the city. Along the way, one person was stunned, but I first reached the city, where I got help to kill the bandits, then returned for the ally to heal him. After selling the unnecessary resources, ended up with a total of 22,000 coins. Found out that for 10,000 coins, you can befriend the Shinobi Thieves Guild. They will protect us and allow access to their buildings in various cities, where you can train and sleep for free. Left my followers for a few minutes to train. Thought about buying a house in the hub, but wasn't sure if living in this empty city was worth it. Went to explore a new city and came across a pack of boars. Led them to the city guards who dealt with them, and I got some juicy boar meat and hides. For some reason, couldn't talk to the merchant and had the same problem with the bartender. Eventually realized that only Spade could talk to them, though the reason wasn't clear. Unlocked new locations. Visited the restroom. Why? While contemplating the next move, decided to mine some copper. Built a campfire and cooked the meat I had taken from the boars. After selling the ore, had almost 16,000 coins, encountered another pack of boars, dealt with by the guards, and collected some more resources. Bought a medium house and kicked the bum out of my building. Didn't want to spend money on a large house since I don't plan to stay in the city for long and can't build outside my home's boundaries. A medium building will suffice for now while I explore everything needed for a move to the wasteland. Placed a campfire on top to cook the meat. Next, built a research table, started the first research projects, and had one person work on them. Not sure why the limit is only one worker, but it's enough for now. Sent Tyrion and Ruka to mine ore and Spade to another city for armor, weapons, and other items. Decided to equip at least one character as a warrior and bought several pieces of armor from the merchant, sold a lot of ore and made a fair amount of money, purchased the last available piece of armor and still needed more weapons. Tried to automate ore mining by building a copper storage so Ruka and Tyrion could collect and store it at home. But when I checked a few minutes later, they were stuck, running in circles, unable to reach either the chest or the ore. Also couldn't figure out how to retrieve items from storage since as soon as I placed them in the inventory, the character immediately put them back. Had to drop the copper and dismantle the storage. We'll deal with automation later. Started research on small house and level 2 workbench. Accumulated enough money, and finally bought a huge sword for 21,000 coins. Now need to train the future warrior. Divided the meat among all the characters, which I had been buying from stores. Also decided to make our main and first character a warrior, equipping him with armor and weapons. Stocked up on resources and preparing for major changes. Started a few more research projects. Sent Tyrion for training. On the way, Spade was attacked and stunned. Had to send help and carry her to bed. Started building a level 2 research table on the roof. However, there were no research books, so had to earn money by sending workers to mine ore. After some time, went to sell the copper, but the trader was out of money, so sent one of the workers to a neighboring city. Started research on large house constructions, sold the ore, and bought many books and iron plates. Built a metal chest, but its capacity was poor, looked for other options, and found the general storage chest, which is much more spacious. Started research on various technologies that I could afford. It was time to build a level 3 workbench. First, canceled all research, fearing I lost the books and would need to repurchase them. Noticed that the new research bench required electricity, which I wasn't familiar with and didn't know how to generate. Had to revert to the old research bench. Fortunately, the research I had started earlier and paid for remained free, and they could just be queued for study. After researching the generator for electricity, decided to build it. Initially didn't understand how it worked, but discovered that the generator needed fuel. checked with the bartender, and luckily found some fuel, dismantled the old research bench, and began constructing the new one. After the build was completed, started figuring out how electricity works in the game. Managed to power the research bench, and Ruby resumed the research. Now need to find rare materials for future technologies. Currently planning to research large houses for building a future base, but need to find engineering research and ancient science books. Sent Spade to other cities to search, but only found regular research books. On the way to larger cities, explored ruins and found 2 pieces of armor of different quality. Got tired of one of my characters constantly training with little result, so decided to send Tyrion to mine ore. Stepped away from the laptop, and Spade was attacked by someone I couldn't identify. She managed to heal herself and barely made it to the nearest city to sleep. Continued buying all the books found in various shops. Collected so much copper ore that couldn't sell it all to the trader and had to leave some in the chest to sell later. Spade was beaten again on the way home, this time by bandits. Managed to get up on the second try and run home. Queued up more technologies for research. The city guards killed some creatures, and I gathered some strange golden meat that couldn't be sold for even a coin. Tyrion was attacked by a gang of bandits. Despite being well armored and equipped, he lost the fight, couldn't kill anyone. Had to call Ruka for help, and she carried him to bed. Found nothing interesting in the City of Bad Teeth either, need to move further from home. Tyrion recovered and went back to mining copper. In search of a location for building a base, stumbled upon a farm in a building with a turret on top. Found a decent spot for the base, but it was too close to the city. Speaking of the city, explored a new area but didn't find anything particularly interesting. Continued searching for a better location for the base. I discarded all the rotten meat because it was just taking up space in my backpack. I traveled to a strange city in a misty location. I didn't encounter any enemies on the way, but upon arriving, the first person I met warned me that it was so dangerous here that survival was unlikely. There was a thieves' tower here, which meant my friends, to whom I had paid 10,000 to join them. I bought a mask to protect myself from gas and sandstorms and stocked up on some electrical schematics that I might need soon. Unexpectedly, I met a stranger named Beep. It turned out that Beep had nothing and couldn't do anything except say, beep. In a way, he didn't see the point of life and wanted to join me for free. I accepted him into my team and sent him straight to the base and hub. Suddenly, Beep was attacked. I thought he could escape the mob of savages, but unfortunately, he was beaten and tied to a stick. I decided to let Beep rest, thinking he would be safe, while I continued with my tasks. But fate had other plans for Beep. He was eaten. Though I didn't know him for long, Beep will always be in my heart. Rest in peace, brave Beep, in the bellies of the cannibals. In the meantime, I bought many research books and started leaving the area. To prevent Spade from meeting the same fate as Beep, I decided to escort her to the base myself, and it was worth it. Just a minute later, she almost ran into a pack of cannibals, but I managed to stop her and get her home safely. I saw some ghouls fighting and decided to send Tyrion to help them and improve his combat skills. But by the time this slow gnome got there, everyone had already scattered. It was time to seriously search for a good spot to build the base. I took 2 people, loaded them with building materials, and set out on the journey. I picked up a vagrant that patrols had kicked around and carried his corpse on my shoulder to increase weight and improve attributes faster. I wandered for a long time but found nothing interesting nearby, so I'll have to venture into new lands. After much time and lost nerves, I decided to build a base somewhere. The location here is generally good because there is water, copper, iron, stone, and 2 big cities nearby. However, this is the Holy Nation's land, and they do not like skeletons and everything related to them. This means that if want to include a robot in my team, I will need to find another location for the base. Right now, need to move everything from the old house to the new base. Ruka was only able to take half of the items. Meanwhile, the main building is already finished. I immediately built torches and a research bench, several chests near the entrance, and a copper storage. A gang of bandits came to me, and at the same time, Tyrion was attacked by other bandits. Decided to set them against each other so they would fight each other. In the end, my dwarf was beaten, and Ruka stepped back a little so that the victorious gang wouldn't attack her as well. Great start. I gathered the remaining resources and dismantled all the buildings at the base to move everything to the new location. Sent Tyrion to sleep in the bar to recover. When he healed and sent him home, he accidentally ended up in jail. I didn't know how it happened, but didn't want to break him out, so just waited until he was released. After a few minutes, he was let out. New guests arrived, the believers of this land. They told me it was prayer day and made me pray with them. I was afraid to say something wrong and offend the faction whose land I live on. So, simply complied and repeated the prayer. They soon left me alone. I decided to attack a lone, harmless creature to improve my combat skills. Killing the creature was easy, but soon its kin arrived and, although slowly, managed to beat me. Once again, I had visitors, a livestock trader. For experimentation, I bought an ox from him for carrying items. It looked amusing, but its fate would soon be grim. Started many research projects, and soon there would be no technologies left that could be studied with regular books. To generate electricity, built a wind generator, which will work at half power due to the lack of strong wind. I didn't have time to heal Tyrion, so sent him into battle again. The outcome was predictable. Spent all my money on resources and used the ox, which was not a wasted purchase. Large bands of bandits often pass by me, but they don't seem to attack me. I realized my mistake when one of these bands killed my ox and Spade barely managed to escape. Unfortunately, this moment was not recorded. Bought sleeping bags to set up at home and also stocked up on resources. When a trader arrived, I didn't have money to buy anything. While I went to sell copper, the trader ran away. Barely caught up with him, but after selling the copper, he disappeared and I didn't manage to buy anything. Found the perfect spot for building a stone mine near the base. Finally, I gave Tyrion a proper rest without the risk of ending up in jail again. I was attacked by some vagrants. Even though my team held their ground well, we still lost. We rested and went back to work. There was no time to slack off. Then we were attacked again by bandits who beat us up, and on top of that, ninjas showed up. I didn't have time for them because I was busy fighting other idiots. Ruka healed everyone and put them to bed, after which we all got back to work. I went to town, sold the copper, and bought some resources, including green fruit. This fruit will be needed for building a farm, so I bought 40 of them to set up a large garden. Since I started building the farm, I decided to go ahead and set up all the buildings, constructions, and workbenches for the future. However, this required a lot of materials, mostly iron plates. In the end, of course, I ran out of supplies, and I also had no more money. I studied the crafting window a bit, as usual, didn't understand much, and for now, I've given up on it. Decided to get to the gang of bandits and sent the strongest warrior in the world to them. In the future, of course, and now he's been hit in the head, but he's stronger. But the bandits didn't stop there and came to my base. I need a lot of money to buy iron plates and finish everything I had planned earlier, but copper doesn't help much anymore. It's cheap and slow to mine. And considering that I'm always being harassed and beaten, I need to change the way I earn money. I couldn't understand how the farm worked, how much water was needed, and how to harvest. Ninjas and paladins came to me, and the slaughter started. I just watched and didn't understand what was going on. That fight didn't leave me alone either. Too bad the corpses don't have anything interesting. After that, a regular merchant came to me, and a minute later, an animal merchant got Tyrion to attack a couple of bulls. But this half-warrior couldn't even kill a baby bull. What a shame. I took the body of one of the believers and brought it to their base, counting on a reward, but nobody needed the body, so I left it. That's when a new wave of madness began. Paladins and priests gathered an army to attack me. I thought that Tyrion did something wrong and they got angry. They almost killed me. I had to load the save to understand what was wrong. According to the paladin, as I understood correctly, they attacked me because I wasn't praying. I had to give battle, and this time it was easier to recover from that. I'm liking this land less and less. Built a well, something like it, to extract water. I poked around a bit to figure out how to transfer water from the well to the bed. I don't really like it all. I'm starting to have problems with this one, and medication. Need to do something about that. Planning to go camping to look for new opportunities. Again, a horde of morons attacked, but this time my warrior held on for quite a while against such a mob, then eventually got stunned. But then someone came back to check my pulse, and a fight broke out again. Then I didn't want to let him go, and each time I went back to finish the bandit off. In the end, he died, but that's what I thought. In fact, he got up afterwards and punched me one more time, and that was the end of it. I waited for the vegetables to ripen and started picking them, but it was harder than I thought. The main question is what I should do with these vegetables. I can't eat them, and I haven't seen them in recipes yet. I took all the copper from the storage and sent Spade to sell it and buy materials. Now I want to finish all the buildings planned and think about what to do next. To solve the food problem, started exploring new buildings related to food. Here's one of them, a cooking table. For now, I can only make one dish from vegetables and water, but it requires 8 green fruits for a single bowl of vegetables, and my fools haven't learned to harvest properly yet, ruining almost everything, so they'll go hungry since they don't know how to handle food correctly. Managed to get my first meal with difficulty, but it's not enough to feed 3 people. Hungry bandits approached me. To avoid them attacking, I decided to talk to them. Something went wrong, and they attacked me. Would have taken our defeat calmly, but damn it, these 3 idiots didn't kill a single bandit. How can you fight like that? Thought a lot about who to send on the journey, Spade or Tyrion, since our dwarf is the first from this settlement, and I decided to make him the strongest. Figured he should go learn to fight and survive alone. If he doesn't die, it will benefit him. I want to explore the lower part of the map. These strange structures or just spots on the map have long intrigued me, so sent Tyrion there. But right at the start of the journey, something strange happened. An unknown squad of paladins followed me. I ran from them for a long time, but eventually collapsed from exhaustion, and they fell behind. Got up and continued on. I reached a new location, the swamp. Didn't know what to expect here and kept looking around. I almost immediately found a village with residential houses and just one merchant who had a few new resources and, most importantly, a sleeping bag, which I forgot to take with me on the trip. But first, I need to earn money to buy the sleeping bag. I met some bandits, but they didn't attack me and we could talk. They offered to fight to restore the bandits' honor, but refused, and they seemed to back off. But a few seconds later, a fight broke out. They chased me for a long time, and I didn't find any city and eventually was knocked to the ground. I had no more medkits and needed to find a store even faster. I stumbled into a new location, the crater. Here was greeted unfriendly by some dinosaurs who played football with me and ate me. Eventually managed to get away from them, but Tyrion unexpectedly fell and couldn't get up. And, of course, those long creatures couldn't resist such a tasty morsel and started to eat him. Realized it was the end for Tyrion, and I had to go back a bit to the last save. This time, they caught up with me and beat me much faster, but again, I didn't have enough medkits to stop all the bleeding. Again, those long creatures. Tried to stay alert to avoid them. On the map, I saw a den and a pile of bones, like a nest, and it was exactly that. There were a lot of items in the nest, and I sent Tyrion to sneak in. There found salvation from poverty. In this nest were huge eggs of these dinosaurs, each egg worth almost 5,000, and I collected 10 of them. Now urgently needed to find a city to sell everything, but the map only showed way station. I had no choice, so went in that direction. On the way, I encountered strange creatures and was scared because I got too close. But they didn't attack me, and when I checked their stats, it turned out they were just training dummies, meaning they were very weak, so I risked attacking them. It was the right decision. These walking mushrooms couldn't do anything at all, and I collected a huge amount of meat and quickly made a fire and cooked everything. On the way to Way Station, I found a city and immediately went in the other direction to Clown Steady. The city welcomed me warmly and sold a few eggs in the first bar. When morning came and other shops opened, was able to sell another 4 eggs. I wanted to vary the content, so decided to do some thievery. Turned on sneak mode and waited for the eye to turn blue, indicating was unseen. Managed to pick a lock on the first try, where the chance of unlocking was less than 20%. The chance of stealing an item was only 38%, which is a very high risk of getting thrown in jail. I didn't want to save and reload every time, was just too lazy. So, simply stole things from shelves and picked locks, which improved my thieving and lock-picking skills. I got tired of stealing and sold the remaining eggs, ending up with 42,000 coins. Collecting eggs is clearly better than endlessly mining copper. Speaking of copper, while was traveling, accumulated quite a lot, so sent Spade to sell it all and buy some materials. And, of course, did some more stealing, but there was nothing interesting. Stocked up on food because now could afford it. Don't know why, but I decided to hire a new character because he claimed to be a very skilled warrior. At first, he demanded 7,500 coins, but when refused and came back again, managed to lower the price to 5,500. Well, Batai's stats aren't super impressive, but at least not all ones. Bought him a backpack and got many medkits, which won't be extra. Unexpectedly, I decided to hire an ant-like character, thinking it would be more fun to travel together, but turned out to be a mistake. Feck wasn't weak, but he wasn't strong either. The problem was that he couldn't wear helmets or boots, meaning he would have less armor. I plan to make him a fast warrior, so he needs light armor and quick weapons. Decided to attack a gang of weak slave hunters, but they were only weak in theory. Of course, I lost. Managed to sell some stolen items, but the rest remained in my inventory. I sent the guys to rest in the bar. When Tyrion healed, sent him alone for the eggs, but on the way, some idiot attacked me, beat me, and left. At first, didn't realize what happened, but then I saw that I'd become a slave. Managed to escape and remove the shackles, but when got into a fight, I noticed that I had no weapon. It was taken by that very slave hunter. I can't afford that. The sword was worth 20,000, so need to go back a bit. At the base, encountered a glitch and couldn't send my workers anywhere. They couldn't move, couldn't work, and wouldn't enter buildings. After restarting the game, everything seemed to be fine. Decided to go for the eggs with Feck, but I would soon regret it. First, we were beaten by a gang of idiots and had to return and rest again. But now, I couldn't lie on the bed in the bar, and Feck, who was unconscious, was simply thrown out the door like a sack of trash. I'll have to go to the city to recover. On the way, I trusted Tyrion and attacked some bulls, but of course we were besieged. But I didn't give up and eventually managed to kill one beast. Meanwhile, my base was attacked by bandits and all three characters were beaten. Alright, need to gather and somehow steal the eggs. On the way, we were attacked by a beak thing, and I thought it was the end, but to my surprise, Tyrion managed to kill the creature and collect a lot of meat. I immediately decided to cook it, but went into sneak mode just in case. We were attacked by another idiot, and again, he lost. Fortunately, Feck didn't wake up after that. I had to carry Feck with me to keep him from being eaten, but on the way, we were attacked by two beak things at once. Managed to kill one, and the other ran away. Finally saw a den on the map and went to look for eggs. The first attempt was a failure, so I had to reload and try another nest because the first one was heavily guarded, but the second one was also full of monsters. And while I was trying to get to the eggs, Feck was already being eaten by those long idiots. Realized that nothing good would come of this and just left, planning to come back later without that half-dead sack. I reached a new location with spiders, encountered one of them after a fight with bulls, and decided to attack because it had almost no health left, but was shocked by its quick attacks. Even though it had low health, it would have probably killed me if it were at full health. Reached some abandoned laboratory and managed to pick the lock with difficulty. Inside there was almost nothing except books and a chest, which was also difficult to unlock, but it contained the ancient books I was searching for. The second floor had nothing interesting. On the way, some idiot attacked me, but managed to defeat him, and even the passing soldiers couldn't help him. In the end, I found the city was looking for in this area and headed there. I sold some items and put the guys to sleep. Returned to the base to see what was happening, and I had visitors who got stuck right inside the house. They only attacked when went inside. Of course, got beaten up, and then someone else showed up, and the chaos at my base began again. I bought a bag and medkits for the new teammate, and now I just need to find armor and weapons. Also bought a crossbow. In the future, plan to make Ruka a crossbowman. But first, I need to get the weapon back to the base. When went outside, I was attacked by slavers. Thought the city had been taken over, but then saw the guards. After reloading, I was attacked again, and only just noticed that there is a bounty on Feck's head, and now he is a criminal in this city. On the third attempt, immediately fled the city and managed to get a bit farther, but then was attacked and beaten up, though they decided not to take any bodies. I left Feck lying there and sent Tyrion to the armor shop because I hadn't had a chance to visit it yet. Bought new heavy armor for him and left the place. On the way, met some bum and decided to beat him up just for fun, and was attacked and beaten up again. It's starting to get annoying. Bounty has been placed on Tyrion and Feck, so now I'm banned from entering cities in this region. Since stealing eggs and exploring locations is difficult with just the two of us, especially if one of the team is weak and falls from a gust of wind, I decided to send Feck straight home while Tyrion goes after the eggs. Although I can kill one or even two dinosaurs, encountering a crowd usually means death. But this time I managed to escape being torn apart. In the end, I found a nearly empty nest. There was only one long-necked dinosaur, and decided to try to carefully collect all the eggs in stealth mode. I succeeded, stealing 17 large eggs, but when tried to take the last one, that long-necked idiot hit me on the head and just wandered off. I got lucky again. I went to sell the eggs in that city where it was hunted, but that was in the past, and I was able to sell everything, ending up with a balance of 83,000. Some fool attacked me, but of course, I defeated him. In the swamp, I was first besieged by local ninjas, and then I found some ruins that were completely empty, but later found another set of ruins, a laboratory guarded by spiders. Fortunately, local beasts helped me fight them off, for which I'm grateful. There were no more guards here. The first and second floors were empty, but the third floor was pure bliss. I found so many expensive parts that soon my problem will be finding traders with enough money to buy everything. Might need these parts eventually, but right now, I'm just craving money. Feck made it back to the base, and I didn't find any work for him, so for now, he can play in the garden and gather crops. I reached the main city in the swamps, or at least that's what it seemed to me. Everything was oddly arranged, and finding traders was problematic. I sold some of the resources from the laboratory, but that's not the main thing. In this zone, there's always someone attacking and fighting, so when the weapon merchant came out of his house, I decided to do a bit of thievery and started picking locks. In one of the safes, found a cool and expensive prosthetic arm and heavy armor pants. The chance of stealing was low, but decided to take the risk. The prosthetic arm was stolen without any issues, but when tried to take the pants, seemed like I was caught, but actually I was just given a thief status for a full 20 seconds, though no one came after me. Tried to steal the pants a couple more times and succeeded. In the end, I took all the cool items and moved on calmly. Sold all the materials and now had a record amount of money. Over 180,000. This should last me a long time. Tried to enter the city with Ruka 3 times, but each time she was beaten up because she was a woman. I had to reload a distant save to avoid taking her there again. I was attacked by ninjas again. Soon, might lose my patience and wipe out their entire hideout. I also want to kill all the paladins. I'm really annoyed by these factions. On the way to another city, Ruka met Tyrion, and he handed over all her armor to her. In the city, although no one attacked Ruka, no one wanted to talk to her either. Finally, I managed to gather the whole team at the base. All 5 people and non-humans were finally together, and at that very moment, bandits decided to attack me. But they had no idea that a hero, a warrior, a killer who had endured much pain and suffering to become stronger, had returned from his journey. Of course, the bandits began to scatter like fireworks. It was a pleasure to watch. And here's the end of these adventures. Over 2 in-game months were spent in Kenshi. At the beginning, I said the game was difficult and confusing. Now I'm ready to say the same thing. Initially, I was just angry at everything. It annoyed me that I didn't understand anything at all. In the end, I gathered a team of 5 people. Partially people. I built my own base, which regularly gets raided by various idiots. I also leveled up our first hero in this story to the level of a true warrior who could now defeat a couple of dogs without falling into a coma from it. Of course, I couldn't do without guides and reloads, but that's forgivable for a complete beginner, though I'll continue to do that in the future since these mechanics are available to everyone in the game. Do I want to keep playing? Definitely yes. Most likely, I'll create a new world and play on my own with the knowledge I have now. Now, a question to all viewers. Do you want a second part? Is it interesting for you to watch this, or should I do a challenge in another game? I'm waiting for your comments, and with that, we say goodbye.